Hey guys, I have some cool pod lights we can take a look at in this box right here. So a while back, we did a video with a company called HawkGlow. They make headlight housings, headlight bulbs and stuff. Well, they actually reached out to me after watching the video and they wanted me to test a set of their new pod lights. So these are 2-inch pod light LED off-road lights. We're gonna go ahead and unbox these things, kind of take a look at them, do a little bit of testing, and then we're actually gonna be mounting these on my golf cart. I really have no use to mount these on my actual highway truck. That's kind of what they look like. Pretty nice. A little bit more information there on how to wire them and stuff like that. That's pretty cool. These things have a high beam, a low beam, and a daytime running light. That's freaking awesome. Let's take a closer look at these. So it comes with some nice foam. Here's one of the lights right here. It comes with these amber covers. I'm not really sure what the purpose of this is, but I've seen these on other off-road lights. So we're gonna go ahead and pop these off. There's a really close-up look of the light itself. It looks pretty nice. Plastic lens. Looks like it's nicely sealed up. So if you look really closely, there's some LEDs right here and right here. I think that's gonna be the daytime running lights. Here's what the back of the unit looks like. It's all aluminum in the back to help dissipate some heat. You have a nice weather pack connector for that. And then you have another loose wire right here. So we're gonna have to look at the instructions and see how to actually wire this up. So in the box, you get 2 lights with the little lens covers. And it also includes a wiring harness. So this is kind of rare. A lot of these off-road lights don't actually come with any of this. And you're kind of left in the dark on how to actually wire it or where to source all the components to wire it correctly. Looks like we get some brackets with tools. So here's our actual wire harness. We have 2 relays. We have a fuse, the connections that are going to go to each light. This looks like it's going to be your main battery connection. We have a nice on-off switch, I think maybe for both sides. And you also get this little bundle of wire here, which has a spade connector male, and that's going to plug into the female spade connector on the actual light. So I'm not really sure what this is for, but we're definitely going to find out. So that's it. That's everything you get. It's an entire kit, and then this is going to tell you exactly how to wire it. So yeah, that extra yellow wire, it looks like it's going to be for your DRL lights, and I'm assuming you're going to wire that somehow to trigger those, maybe a separate switch or something. Now we're going to take all this to my golf cart and we're going to wire it all up, mount the lights, and I'll show you guys the whole process. Then we're going to take this thing out at night and see how good these things actually are. But first, before we do that, we're actually going to bench test one of these. I want to connect it to a power supply and then also to a watt meter and see exactly how much power these lights use, as well as point it at the wall and kind of see what the light pattern looks like and just kind of mess with them a little bit. All right, guys, I went ahead and connected the lights on a bench test setup so we can just kind of test them. And we're also going to use this little kilowatt hour meter to see how much power the lights actually use, as well as be able to see the light beam and pattern on how everything works. So luckily the harness is already pre-terminated, like I kind of showed you guys in the unboxing. So connecting this thing up is actually very easy. What we have here coming off the lights are these yellow wires, and if you connect these straight to battery power, that's going to be your daytime running lights. So all you got to do is give those a 12-volt positive source, and that only uses 1 watt per light. I don't have that one hooked up. Okay, there they are both hooked up. Let me turn the lights off. And those look freaking awesome. So this one has the amber light cover on. This one does not, but you can see the DRLs are amber and they look amazing. So right here we have our on and off switch. One of them is gonna be for your standard beam, and then it also has like a high beam, I guess you could say. So I'm gonna go ahead and click the first one on. And as you can see, with only one of these clicked on, only half the light lights up. And if I click the other one on, gosh dang, that's bright. So you can either have the lower ones on or you can have both on. So that's kind of cool. So now we're gonna turn them to full power mode. And we're using 81 watts or about 6 amps. So very power efficient. Okay, I went ahead and turned the lights off completely. Ooh, spooky. So we're gonna turn the DRLs on. So that's just the daytime running lights, still pretty bright. This is the low beam setup. And as you guys can see, with the amber covers on, it kind of diffuses the light and makes it more amber. And then without the cover on, you get a more direct white, very clear beam. And as you can see, you can actually aim the beam. That way you're not going to be blinding people depending on how you aim these. So that's very important. So that's only on the half mode. Now we're going to turn it on full blast. And yeah, y'all can see how bright, how much light these things actually put out. There's just a ton of light. So now I'm going to take all this stuff right here, along with all our brackets that are also included. And we're going to go ahead and get these things mounted up to the golf cart. And I will show you guys a little bit of the wiring just to show you how easy it is. And on the golf cart, we're going to have to use a DC to DC converter as well. But it should be pretty awesome, and these things will throw out so much light. I can't wait to get them installed. So let's go do that. Because we're going to be installing our HawkLight Todd lights on our golf cart, I also have a 48 volt to 12 volt DC to DC converter, and that's going to allow us to use these 12 volt lights on this 48 volt electrical system. And I think what I'm going to end up doing is probably mounting the lights right here on the side of the cage. That's going to give us a nice clean look. It'll be easy to aim, and then I can run all the wires down the side. We're going to go ahead and get these bad boys mounted up on there, and then we're going to start doing some of the wiring. And the way we actually put our brackets onto the lights, as you can see, we have 2 threaded holes there. So you're going to take your little mounting bracket, and we're just going to secure it just like that. And then that's going to allow us to drill a hole in our frame. I'm probably going to have to get a little bit longer bolt, and then we'll be able to adjust the light. And then if I want to tilt the light, I can also do it just like that. There also is another set of holes on the other side, so you can really put the bracket on either side of the light. That way, if you want to mount them like this, or if you want to flip it, mount it the other way, that way the high beam and the low beam are still correct, because you want the low beam to be on the bottom, obviously. And if you flip it upside down, it'll be on the top, and that's not going to be correct. So having 2 sets of holes is going to allow you to mount this in either orientation you want. And I did also reference the instruction manual right here, and it does state that the top, instead of using the included bolt, I'm just going to use a self-tapper. These don't weigh anything, so this will be just fine. And I still left them a little bit loose so we can adjust them once we get them running. And the self-tapper is pretty tight, so they don't want to turn here, but I can always loosen that up if I want to turn them, just to help aim them a little bit better. There we go, all mounted up. All right, so since our lights are mounted, I did go ahead and plug in our harness. These are weather pack connectors, not this specific connection right here for the daytime running lights, but that's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to kind of zip tie up the harness over here along the top side where it's going to combine with the other light's harness. And this is all going to get cleaned up, but we're going to do all that at the end once we know everything works. The DC to DC converter is already mounted in here. This is rated for 20 amps or 240 watts, I believe. This is going to be our output right here. So this is going to output our 12 volts. Our input right here is going to take in our 48 volts from the batteries. It also already has a fuse. And what I'm going to do to run power to that is I'm just going to get a piece of lamp cord, connect it to there, and I'm going to run it underneath all the plastics, and it's going to join the 48 volt batteries there. So it's going to have its own little tiny harness that's going to be nice and neatly routed up to the voltage converter. I am going to add some sort of switch to the input, that way I can switch this thing on and off. That way when I'm not using it, it's not going to pull any power from the batteries. The daytime running lights do not have their own switch. You're supposed to wire these to your daytime running lights on your truck or whatever. So what I'm going to do is, because these are on, they're C12 volts all the time anyways, because this will have a switch on it, the daytime running lights will not be running anyway. So as soon as I kick the voltage converter on, even if the lights are turned off, the daytime running lights will turn on, and you'll be able to see those guys on the edge, and it'll look really good. And the nice thing about this little cubby is I can fit the relays and the rest of the harness in there, because the harness is pretty long because this is made for a truck or SUV or anything like that. You get a lot of extra wire, so we're going to very easily be able to put all the extra wire in there and make everything look nice and neat. And then the switch more than likely will stick up underneath there just to keep it out of the weather, and everything will be good to go. I went ahead and ran this old piece of extension cord. This is going to be the main power feed from the 48 volt batteries to our step down regulator. So I already got this kind of routed all the way to the battery box. It's going to be nice and clean, and I'm going to go ahead and get it in there terminated. I also have one of these little terminal blocks, which I'm going to use to connect everything up to make it very easy. So I did go ahead and terminate all the wires that we need to terminate, and I'm just going to get everything connected to our little terminal block here. These little crimp-on non-insulated terminals are probably my favorite one to use. The insulated ones, I can never get a good crimp on them, and honestly, if you need them to be insulated, just throw some heat shrink. But since these are going to be secured on a block, they'll be just fine. So I'm going to remount everything back into the golf cart, connect everything up, and I'll show you guys what the wiring is going to look like. And the voltage regulator is nicely mounted. Here's the wiring all done. So we have the 48 volts coming in, going into the regulator, has a fuse right here, and then the power out of the regulator goes to these bars and connects to our headlight harness. So now I just need to tuck it in here. So we got all our wiring tucked into this little cubby. Everything's good to go. It's all hooked up. So I'm going to go ahead and click on our breaker. That should energize everything. As you guys can see, our daytime running lights are working. All right, now I'm gonna do the low beam. Okay, that works. Now we're gonna do the high beam and the low beam. Nice, very bright. I have them aimed pretty good too. And then I'm gonna go ahead and click it off. And there we go. I'm gonna wait for it to get a little bit darker, then we're actually gonna take this thing out for a spin, and I'll show you guys how good it throws the light. But it's not quite dark, the sun is going down. And then I gotta take this little cover off still too. I think if I would have illumined the wiring harness, it would have looked a little bit better, but honestly, this looks fine just for a golf cart. Now, if this is installed in your car or pickup truck, most of that would be hidden by panels anyways. The fact that they give you a pre-made harness made the install very easy. I didn't have to do really at all any sort of soldering or crimping or any of that. The only reason we did any of that is because I use a voltage converter, but if you're hooking this straight to 12 volts, this thing out of the box is ready to go. Super easy to connect in my opinion. Okay guys, that's gonna do it for the 2-inch pod light upgrade on the golf cart. Let me know what you guys think about the video. I have a bunch of other mods coming to the golf cart as well, so if y'all like the golf cart stuff, make sure y'all like, subscribe, comment, all that good stuff, and I'll freaking see you guys in the next video.